Hello, hello, good morning. Well, it's morning for me. I don't know what time it is for you, but hello, happy Easter Monday for those of you who are Christian and who observe Easter. I hope you had a wonderful Easter Sunday. I hope you had a wonderful Easter. I know that this is a very different time that we're celebrating Easter in, but I hope nonetheless that you were able to find some joy in the season. And I actually wanted to talk about the fact that, as someone who grew up Christian, and so Easter was always such a big part of our year, our celebrations. And the fact that for us, Easter always represented rebirth, renewal. And I just wanted to take a moment to reflect on that and say that isn't it interesting that we're in this time where, in many ways, so many of us are forced to stay home and be introspective, whereas normally we would be out in the world doing stuff and celebrating, whereas many of us have been forced to stay home, and many of us have been forced to, for lack of a better way to put it, spend time with ourselves, spend time with our families. One of the things that I have noticed that I've seen, especially over the last few weeks, is maybe it's just the world that I am in, where I'm around and exposed to a lot of coaches, is that there's this urgency, this sense of, oh my gosh, if you don't use this time during quarantine to learn a new skill and to build a new business and to do, and all this urgency to create. And it's just made me think, gosh, maybe what we need to be doing less of is this urgency and create and running around. And maybe we need to be using this time to be introspective. I've also noticed, and maybe it's just me, and maybe I'm just hypersensitive at this time, but there almost seems to be a level of some shaming that if you're not creating your next business, if you're not creating your next $100,000, if you're not creating, then there is something wrong with you. And I just wanted to remind you that we all deal with situations differently. We all deal with life differently. And so there is no pressure for you to do anything or be anything during quarantine. You do you, boo. If all you want to do is watch Netflix and chill on the couch, you do you, boo. Like I said, we all deal with things differently. And I just wanted that to be a reminder that you don't have to listen, you don't have to be sucked into the pressure and the, do this and do that and learn a new skill and use this time, to do what works for you. Because I know for some people, this is a difficult situation. This is a time where they're finding it difficult to cope. There's a lot of anxiety, there's a lot of stress, there's a lot of what's going to happen after. And maybe this is a time for you to go inside versus outside. Maybe this is a time for you to be introspective, for you to think about what is the world that you want to go back to. Our world's probably going to be different in some ways than the world that it was a month ago, 2 months ago. And so, what is it? This is an opportunity for you to really spend some time thinking about what is it that you want to go back to? How do you want, when you go back to the new normal, what do you want that to look like? Whether it be in your own life, whether it be in your relationships, whether it be in your job, whether it be in your business. Who do you want to show up as in your life? And one of the most beautiful things that I've ever been gifted by somebody was an uncle of mine who sadly passed away last year. When I was young, he had a record player back in the days of LPs and singles, and it had a needle. And this was a huge thing for me to be allowed to use his record player. And he had this album, which was a poem. And I wanted to share that poem with you today. It's truly one of my favorite poems in the world. And for those of you who may already know about it, it's called the Errata. And I think it's such a beautiful description, such a beautiful, it's a call to action of how we should be living our lives. So that's what I wanted to share with you today. So I'm going to read it to you. It was written by a gentleman named Max Ehrman. And from what I've researched and understood, it was written in 1920, 1921, but it didn't actually, he wrote it meaning for it to be a Christmas greeting for his family. And he never actually sent it, and he eventually published it, but it didn't get very much publicity until after his death. And so I wanted to share it with you. I'll link to the title in the comments, but it's called The Desiderata. And it says, go placidly amid the noise and haste, and remember what peace there may be in silence. As far as possible, without surrender, be on good terms with all persons. Speak your truth quietly and clearly, and listen to others, even the dull and ignorant. They too have their story. Avoid loud and aggressive persons. They are vexations to the spirit. If you compare yourself with others, you may become vain and bitter, for always there will be greater and lesser persons than yourself. Enjoy your achievements as well as your plans. Keep interested in your career, however humble. It is a real possession in the changing fortunes of time. Exercise caution in your business affairs, for the world is full of trickery. But let this not blind you to what virtue there is. Many persons strive for high ideals, and everywhere life is full of heroism. Be yourself, especially do not feign affection. Neither be cynical about love, for in the face of all aridity and disenchantment, it is as perennial as the grass. Take kindly the counsel of the years, gracefully surrendering the things of youth. Nurture strength of spirit to shield you in sudden misfortune. But do not distress yourself with dark imaginings. Many fears are born of fatigue and loneliness. Beyond a wholesome discipline, be gentle with yourself. You are a child of the universe, no less than the trees and the stars. You have a right to be here. And whether or not it is clear to you, no doubt the universe is unfolding as it should. Therefore, be at peace with God, whatever you conceive him to be, and whatever your labors and aspirations, in the noisy confusion of life, keep peace with your soul. With all its sham, drudgery, and broken dreams, it is still a beautiful world. Be cheerful. Strive to be happy. I thought like it's like really if I had to sum up life in if I had to gift this to someone, which it was gifted to me by my uncle, this is how I'd want to advise someone to go through life. I think it covers everything. It covers some of the things that we're facing right now that, even in all of this or hardship that we're going through, it is still a beautiful world, and we are truly surrounded by heroes who don't wear capes, and in the form of medical workers and essential workers and all the people who are at the front lines of dealing with this crisis. And I just wanted to remind you, as the last line says, in everything that you do, strive to be happy. I wish you all a wonderful week. I wish you all a productive week. I wish you all a peaceful week. See you same place, same time next week. Take care, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate it.